My name is Florence Svensson. I'm a board member of the European Association of Communication Directors, also founding member. And the reason why I'm here today is because I became interested in content marketing by talking to various people around me. For those of us who are in communications, content marketing is becoming a buzzword. And sometimes, it's difficult to see the forest from the tree, because really we all have different understandings about what content marketing is about. So I thought it was maybe useful to understand more myself, which is what I've tried to do over the last few weeks. And I hope that today's session will also be helpful for all of you. We will have introductions from our two speakers. You're very welcome to ask questions. The speakers have also said that they don't mind being interrupted, meaning if there's something you don't understand during the presentation, please raise your hand just to clarify something. It would be a pity to lose the rest of the presentation if there's something you've missed at the beginning or halfway through. I would like to introduce our two speakers. So to my left is Ed Peelen. Ed is a professor of content marketing at the University of Amsterdam. He's the academic director of the Next department at that same university, and that department hosts corporate and public sector professional education programs. He also does content marketing masterclasses. He's authored several books, more than 15 actually, so he's very well versed in...
Stopped counting.
You stopped counting, okay, good. He's very well versed in, clearly in marketing and economy. And he will be introducing today the results of a survey, a study he has carried out amongst 350 companies in the Netherlands about content marketing. So I'm sure the results of that study are going to help us see a bit more clearly what is expected, and maybe we can add our own expectations to that discussion afterwards. To my right is Gregor Küpper. Gregor is an independent business consultant. He focuses on helping companies overcome their growth blockages, analyzing and finding solutions to help them go beyond that. He also deals with customer experience and engagement strategies for the same companies, for clients of his. And he's the reason why he is here today is because he's also become involved in content marketing as the specialist for InfoAsset. InfoAsset is the European content marketing solution proposed by ATC, which is Athens Technology Center. So he will be giving us a more hands-on experience of what his dealings with content marketing is all about. I would like to give the floor to Ed, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we don't need it really, but it's for the camera, I heard. Nice to be here in the capital. It really feels to be abroad. Oh, I should put it on.
Then it works. And I'd like to present some of the results from the survey to you, but also a little bit of the background of content marketing. And I have to say at the beginning, I'm a marketer, so the background is a little bit the commercial corporations. But I hope you can make the translation to your situation, and if there are any questions, feel free. Content marketing, actually, just a little bit about the background and what it is actually quite old. There are even more older illustrations, but you all know the Michelin guide being presented already today, I believe, or very recently. I met a Belgian professor last week, and he said it's the first time that you actually from Holland beat the Belgians, because probably we will have more 3-star restaurants than you have for the first time. But you will win in football probably again. If you speak about content marketing, actually the challenge is, as a company or as a person, that you become your own media company. It's so easy now. With all the technology being available, every individual, every consumer can do it. So why can't we do it as a company, or being here in Brussels? We can develop our own media. We do it as a company, not to earn money being a publisher, but we do it because it is a way to approach our market and to build a loyal audience. Like when you have a magazine, want to read it. People want to see it again. They're waiting for it. And why are they waiting for it? Because actually you know this key audience, you know what interests them, and you really know to reach them, to touch them. So it has a very much an outside-in perspective. It's what is their interest, that's what you're actually focusing on. And you do it because you want not only to be a publisher, no, it's actually because you want to realize some targets. And that's actually what you want to do. It's very much goal-oriented. It's not only having a lot of messages being spread around, but it is actually, I know my audience, I want to build a loyal audience and a very selective audience, and I really have some key targets. That's what I want to realize. And that's actually, and of course the Michelin guide is an old illustration, and that's where you only use you can have the slides, I don't mind if you, you can use the old print, but let's be honest, you have hundreds of ways to communicate with, and also digital ways to communicate with your target audience. And if we speak about how professional are we actually doing this, then one of the, and that's what we've been measuring, one of the first elements, one of the dimensions, one of the pillars in content marketing is, do you have a vision? What's your vision with content marketing? Because it's not a solution to everything, it's only one way to communicate. And of course you still need, if you're a company advertising, you need sales, or you need personal contacts, or you need the lobby activities. But this is one way to communicate with your audience. What will it do and what won't it do? Do you have a vision on that? Do you know what you want to realize with it? It's very nice to have some kind of content marketing, so not being too persuasive, to have information people want, to be more engaging with your information. But if you want to sell something, or if you want to convince somebody, maybe you need other tools and ways to work as well. So what is it that you want to realize with content marketing? And the other one is, to what extent do you really understand your key audience? What is it that really interests them? What are those key issues? What is that really, that spot that you really touch them, and that they actually will say, hey, this is what I'm waiting for, this is how you really help me or engage me. And having that spot, that sweet spot, that's actually key. If you know that, then actually you can become quite a good publisher. If it's your idea to be some kind of media company for everybody, you will not succeed. In Holland we always, and I can use it here as an illustration, we always have the AWB, the Kampioen. It's a magazine, it's for every member, and it's a little bit about everything. Nobody reads it. So that's not what you want to realize. Knowing those people. Insights, actually one of the results from our study is we have good insights as companies, but we don't apply them. Because when we start to create content, we forget about them. And we just produce content. And that's pity. The other thing is, what is actually your promise to your audience? It's not about who you are, of course that's important as well, but what is very important is, what is your claim? What can your audience, what can they expect from you? Of course, you want to be known for something, but it is, what do you promise them? And most of the organizations in the survey are available or know what their claim is, but they forget about it when they write the story. And then you don't recognize it anymore. But this is actually what is your promise, and this is critical, especially if it's aligned with what the people in your audience are thinking of is interesting. And just some illustrations. The Wereld Natuurfonds, I forgot about it, what it was in English. World Wildlife, yeah, worldwide. They have a wonderful brand message, as on the earth. It's promise. It's promise to everybody who is concerned and who is supporting it. And because you have this type of message, it's also quite easy to align people. And then you build your reach, and I still like their competition. And it's among amateur photographer who has the nicest picture of the Earth. And you upload it in Flickr in the community, and you have a contest, and what's the winning photo? And you have a wonderful collection of images, but also you reach out to a community that might be of help to you in other ways as well. You can also think about magazines about, and that's also really in Holland, Allerhande, De Alhaze, probably they also have a magazine, and they answer that daily question: what will you eat today? And then you have a very interesting brand promise again. You align to one of those recurring questions, and of course you notice this is a way to build a loyal audience, and that's what they've been doing. And of course this will only work if you have high quality content, and this is the survey showed where you have one of the challenges, because real quality, and it's quite challenging if you take a look at this calculation, it is, you have to be timely with your message, you have to be relevant, you have to be unique in your presentation, you have to show that it's you, the brand permission, that is authentic, that's credible, and you have to produce it in high quality, and then you have to be sure that you align it with the type of media that you're using. And what you notice is that before you know, we fail in some of those dimensions. And this engaging content is key. What is very typical for content marketing in this part is that we like to tell stories. And stories are quite nice, and I'd like to show you one of the illustrations from one of the journalists who was in Wall Street in 2008, Freek Stocks, and he knew there was something going on already for a long time, and he wrote articles and nobody in Holland believed it. And he thought, how can I tell them? He showed the data, he showed everything, and then he came up with a story, and there was a farmer from Groningen, northern part of Holland. He went to the United States, had a wonderful farmer, had 6 kids, and the bank said, I'm stopping your finance, and he killed himself. And those were the stories that actually had impact in Holland, and from that moment on he was more on telling those types of stories. It's also about the type of format. And there are a bundle of formats in how you can communicate it. This is L'Oreal, they're really having top content. I don't know about all those nails and things like that, but people are really waiting for new release. But what you notice in these formats, and that's quite nice, is girls' night out. Exactly the right moment. Then it's important how those nails look like. You have information. The ultimate nanny, inspired by the patron. Hey, some kind of hero, how they are doing it. The tips, the 3 tips, always wonderful formats. Starting over to reboot. Actually, if you take a look at how they really know this audience and the type of formats that they're using, it's great. And they really build some content. Professional publishers are jealous about it. And if you take a look at also some, and it's too small, but just to show you, this is what you also find in all other types of studies, is the quality of our content is not what it should be. It's not engaging. We are sometimes happy if people read it for 37 seconds. That's also what you realize in advertising. If you make it interactive, you get better results. But most of them actually say the quality is not good enough. It's not what the audience is waiting for, it's not engaging. And one of the consequences is then, of course, that you, and you're probably, hopefully not doing it, but in commercial companies what you notice is that they are then spending more money on paid distribution. Because people don't like it, they don't look for it themselves. So you're paying all sorts of media to spread your content. And actually, that's not what content marketing is about. You hope people are looking for it, are waiting for it. It's not that you have to push it like we did in the old ways. And if you speak about how are you going to publish and also to be found, then actually what you notice is we have a continuous stream of content, all small messages, not too big. Hopefully people will find them, people will follow you. Sometimes you have some real campaigns, when there is some kind of issue, when there is some kind of event going on, then you're really presenting, publishing a lot, combining it with other ways of influencing people or realizing your targets. And of course, you have some sort of regular magazine, some kind of publication, some kind of newsletter to actually spread it. And this is when you have some kind of optimal mix. And this is also one of the areas where you can really improve. And the final one, on the accountability. On the accountability, it's what was your target? What do you want to realize? And this is actually one of the areas that there's really room for improvement, at least in commercial companies. What you notice is because it was such a hype, everybody starts it. Management is enthusiastic. They give you support, they give you budget. Hey, start. But we forgot about, hey, what are our targets? What are our goals? What do we want to realize with this? And now we're in a phase, hey, it's nice that you've been playing around, but now you have to become result-oriented and show that it pays off. And that's actually what you noticed is, and we should measure not only on operational indicators like how many people have seen it, how long were they on your website. No, what you want is people to know something, to change their mind, to become loyal to you as a publisher. You want to improve your reputation. And that's actually also some of the more strategic targets that we actually should focus on and should measure. And then you have actually the type of content marketing that really should bring you forward. That was a brief overview. Questions? Yeah.
Would you consider native advertising a part of content marketing?
No, it looks like it, but what native advertising is actually that your audience shouldn't notice it's advertising. So it's a little bit sneaky. And in content marketing, you're open. Hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm published. So it's not sneaky persuasive type of advertising. No, it's really honest. I want to help you and to bring you further. Yeah.
My question to you is about the tempo of this survey. So what is the ratio between the public and the private services that you have included?
This was basically private and both business to business and business to consumer. Yeah.
So then a follow-up question is, would you recommend it really paid?
No, I wouldn't recommend. No, no. So that's also when I said this is when you're in a commercial organization. No, I wouldn't recommend you to put too much money and budget in paid advertising. And if you need media of third parties to spread the message, there's always social. That's very helpful. But also, probably you can make a deal that's much more interesting. Yeah.
And as a follow-up to that, but I guess isn't the challenge if you're working with a publisher, for example, a commercial publisher, they're finding an audience for you. You're reaching an external audience. It seems the challenge is how do you extend outside your customer base?
Yeah, if you are using another publisher, you can increase your reach, your audience, but it's always very good to start with your own audience and not to see who will follow you, but to think from the first moment, who are the key persons that I really want in my key audience, who are the key influences that are really important for you, that should be one of your followers. And if if you don't have to learn them anything, sometimes it might be interesting to look at the second layer, who are still open, don't have the information, are eager to learn, and then can influence the top influencers as well. So it's so key, but that's the key of your job, to think who are those key influencers, the key audience that I want to reach, and not to say, hey, let's see who will read it and follow, because then you are that media publisher who might be a little bit of interest for too many people. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Today in Europe, but also in the US, you have a number of young startups, very innovative startups, coming with a new business plan, new activities, but also new research, and possibly new products. Not only in terms of manufactured products, but also in terms of copyright products, I mean intellectual products. How is it possible for these companies to convince the banks to finance? And how is it possible for these companies to convince the industry to utilize the results of research in an innovative field where you don't have anything to show because the research has not yet been done, but you ask money in order to carry out this research? It's a betting on the future. How is it possible to make, to attract investors, to attract interest from the industry, and to attract also the industry from the chief technical officer in an industry who has never known anything about what you are presenting?
You addressed me in a different field now, but one of the interesting part is I have a lot of master classes for the big corporates. And what you notice in those big organizations is that they always stuck with how can I innovate. And it was a hype, it's a little bit not at the top anymore, but they're so eager for those youngsters with ideas who just have the knowledge, the guts, who can do something, who dare to fail, who know people in the market will respond to them, hey, I allow you to fail, you don't have to be perfect. So there is a huge market for those guys, for companies to support them, but also for venture capitalists. But in the beginning, in the first phase of this process, they don't look at the plans, and they look at who's the guy, and a little bit about what is his intention. If they believe in it, they get some support.
Thank you, Ed. But I think we can maybe take the following questions afterwards, so that we can have a debate, maybe to broaden the scope. To broaden the scope of what we have already discussed. How can this approach apply to what we do in Brussels? We've spoken about B2C, B2B. I think also from Gregor's approach, we'll probably look at what I personally call B2I, which quite a few of us do here in Brussels, which is business to institutions, because I consider it as a third group of communications and marketing in a way, because if you work for a trade association and so on, you have to market your content and your opinion to policymakers and to institutions. So how do we apply this to the Brussels bubble, Gregor?
Thank you, Florence. Thank you, Ed. If I can have the little tool to forward. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Yes, of course, what you said, Ed, very much resonates. And one of the questions that I have, and I think some of you might have, is how does it help us in Brussels? How can you be heard in Brussels? I want you to meet somebody. Oops, he doesn't want to. This here, you see him? He's Tom. Tom is an expert. Tom works in Brussels and he loves his job. His job is to get a message across. His job is to be heard. And Tom is very enthusiastic and very driven. And Tom has one challenge. Almost 12,000, not almost 12,000 other experts almost 12,000 organizations registered with the Transparency Registry with the European Parliament, meaning approximately 30,000 other experts. Now, they all have a job to do. Their job is to get their message across. Their message to influence the political decision-making process. And all of them are highly driven and enthusiastic. So this makes for a very noisy and crowded marketplace. So the question is, how can being the reference or a thought leader help you make a difference in this environment? Maybe it's good to first have an understanding what is an expert and what is a thought leader. I like to differentiate them like this. An expert is somebody who focuses on his solutions, on his expertise. An expert tries to convince others. And the aim of an expert is to expand his experience and expertise. Nothing wrong with that. And actually Brussels is full of experts. What is a thought leader? A thought leader focuses on the big picture. He focuses on the environment as a total, on the benefits, on how things will be affected. A thought leader focuses not on convincing others, but on attracting others. And a thought leader is not so much concerned about expanding his expertise, but really expanding his network. So in short, one can say an expert is focused and driven by expertise and knowledge, and a thought leader is driven by influence. And that actually is what all the experts are about in Brussels, trying to have influence. Now, so how can Tom go from being an expert to becoming a thought leader? Okay, there's two key things here. Exposure and resonance. Allow me to explain. Tom and his team currently publish on their website whatever they do. They go to working meetings, they publish some reports, they communicate what they do, what meetings they attend, the values of their organization, and every once in a while some event that they announce, like end of year drink. Now what does that mean? That means anybody coming to their website, anybody from their audience they're trying to reach, they will maybe visit once, twice, and then they realize not much new or interesting there, so not much reason to come back to the website. Now of course Tom realizes that, and so does his team, and so the instruction is clear. We need to publish more. We need to communicate more. And so Tom says, yeah, of course, everybody knows we need to communicate more. But we're already communicating everything that we do. So what else can we publish? And so I want to communicate today three key insights I want to take away that will help you for some food of thought. And the first one is actually one that resonates very much with Ed's. First one is focus on your audience. As an expert, you're solution driven. You're focusing on your solution, on your approach, on what you want to achieve. Instead, think of your audience. Whom are you trying to reach? What are their desires? What are their pain points? What are their wants? What is it that they're aiming for? And if we look at Tom, if he looks at his audience, he might identify 7 or 8 areas of interest that his audience is interested in. These are areas of interest that gravitate around his activity, of Tom and his team, but it's not directly their activity. And So after Tom identified these, he realized that for a number of these areas, he already knew experts. He had met them at conferences or at congresses. And so when he and his team were scanning to find who are expert in these various areas, there were already a number of them that he knew, and the others he could find online. So what they would do then is they would look at what these experts publish in their field of expertise, and then use a summary or the recommendations that they formulated and publish them on their own website. So all of a sudden, Tom and his team were now regularly publishing articles of interest to their audience, which originated from other experts. And actually, by communicating information from other experts, Tom and his team themselves were also more and more seen as experts, because experts communicate with experts. And so now his audience, when they would come to the website, they would continue visiting, because there would be articles of interest to them on a much more frequent basis. So in that way, Tom and his team started to greatly increase their exposure, because the audience would come and would keep coming to the website. But then Tom decided to do something else. When he found the articles by the other experts, instead of just publishing a summary or whatever they had published, their recommendations, he would use part of their article, either a quote or some of the recommendations, and would reformulate them and put them in the context of his audience, of his own work. That way, making something that initially was of interest to his audience, making it fully relevant to his audience, in function of his own activities and his own positions. So what he would do is he would use their post, their information, put it into his context, and turning an interesting post into a relevant one for his audience. And actually, by using the post by another expert to confirm his position, you get the same message in a different way. Now, the same message in a different way is called resonance. And in music, the effect of resonance is that the sound appears stronger, much louder. In communication, the effect is exactly the same. By expressing something similar, but not in the same way, you reinforce your message. Your message becomes louder. And so, by consistently sharing insights by other experts, whose insights have then been made relevant to his audience, Tom is starting to be seen as an expert, but more than an expert, as a thought leader, as somebody who brings together the expertise from a whole network of experts, and thanks to that can actually develop innovative solutions. And on top of that, he is seen as somebody not as a narrow-minded expert, but as somebody who has the big picture in view. So then, he all of a sudden starts to be invited by the political decision makers as somebody whose insights and whose view, large big picture view, is actually of value to them. So he's being invited to their meetings, and he's inviting to high-level conferences as a thought leader and a reference, greatly increasing his influence and impact and getting his message across. So the process is based on creating resonance. By making what other experts say relevant to your audience, that greatly enhances the power of your message. Now, what is the main challenge now for Tom? It's very exciting. He and his team are scanning the web universe constantly to try to find experts who have something interesting to say that in one way or another would be of interest to their audience. When they find something that is of interest, they reformulate, contextualize it, put it in a context, include it in their own reasoning, so that they can publish something that is relevant to their audience. They publish it to their website. They have several mailings that go out, newsletters. They publish Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, the whole online channels that can be used. Now, this, of course, creates a new challenge for him. Because when you look at this process, the finding interesting articles, the editing of these articles to make them relevant, and then the publishing of them, that really becomes quite time-consuming. It can even become frustrating. So the reality has now become that most of the time is spent on finding interesting articles or on adapting the technical specificities for each of the channels, whether it's their website, their CMS, or the CMS of their mailing server, or the newsletter, the specific word counts for Twitter or for Facebook, a picture that has to be one way, one size for one, another size for another channel. And all of that takes a lot of time, which means that now, when you look at steps 1, 2, and 3, the finding articles takes a huge amount of time. The adapting technically and actually publishing takes a good amount of time. And the middle part, the editing, is squeezed, and there's less and less time left for that. Now the challenge is, that is where the value is created. By turning the interesting article into relevant ones. And so this is a real challenge of having his people, his team, work on things where there really is not much value generated, and not having much time left for what actually is generating value. And so the thing that we want to focus on here is, if you want to be effective, you need to be able to invest your brains where your value is. The question is, how can you do that? What is the solution to that? And the solution is technology. There are several tools out there who allow you to identify articles that are of interest. There are tools out there that allow you to edit and rework posts. And there are a few tools out there that allow you to publish to the various channels, the various social media channels in your website. Now, working with individual tools is possible, the tools and apps. However, it can often be rather time-consuming and actually technically challenging. Now, this is fun and fine if you have somebody who loves to do that, or as you call it, the office geek, who knows all the latest apps and tools and who finds another one, and this is great what we can do with this. But it is a bit complex and time-consuming, and not everybody in your team will be able to do that. So what is the solution there? This is where InfoAsset comes in. As InfoAsset is a platform that covers the entire process. It covers from finding and connecting interesting articles to editing them within the same platform without ever having to leave the platform, and then being able to distribute them through the social media channels without having to worry about the technicalities. Because these technicalities are defined and are set up once and are then managed by InfoAsset in the background. What does this mean? This means that the time to find interesting articles is greatly reduced because largely automated. It means that the time to prepare articles to be published and to adapt to the technical specifications of each channel is greatly reduced. And what does that mean? That means that the middle part, the editing, the part that is making something interesting relevant, the part that actually adds value and allows you to position yourself as a thought leader, gets again much more time and space. And in that way, allowing Tom and his team to focus there where the value, one can say, where the money is. That is what I mean with make sure that you invest your brains where your added value is. So if being heard and increasing your impact in Brussels is a top priority, then it would probably be a good idea to invest in a tool that allows you to do that efficiently, that allows you to position yourself or your organization as a thought leader, while with eliminating as much as possible all the aspects that are not adding value and allowing you to focus on those aspects that do add value and that give you maximum efficiency gain and control over the entire process, which of course includes measuring the effectiveness of each of your posts and your channels. Now, I thought it might be helpful to give you a short checklist to help analyze what actually is a solution that would suit you well. And these are actually general questions. They are not specific InfoAsset questions, but they are questions that help you understand what it is that you want to be looking for. So the first question is, as an organization, are you having one person in charge and one person doing this entire process, from finding, editing, and distributing? Or are you working with a team, both an internal team or an external team with external contributors? That is one thing you need to assess. Second thing is, today most of the organizations that are working in content or content marketing related fields, they are doing monitoring. Monitoring over the last 10 years has been the holy grail to define strategy. Okay. Question is, are you wanting to focus on monitoring past performances? Are you focusing on monitoring reputation? Or are you looking for ways of building reputation, influencing reputation? Two questions that are becoming more and more important is your data. Is your data to be hosted on your own server, locally, in your offices or somewhere nearby? Or is your data hosted on a server in the cloud? Important question to consider, and one directly related to that. It is becoming more and more a question, are we happy or willing to have our data hosted in the United States or is it a priority that our data is in the EU, ensuring compliance with privacy, data protection, GDPR, etc.? Now, this one is also one I had briefly mentioned. Are you having people within your team who are tech savvy and who are happy to juggle around with many different tools and make that work? Or is your approach, we are a professional public affairs or communication or branding or association, organization, and we want something that works. We don't want to invest into making it work, but something that adds value to us. Now the last question, and actually maybe this should have been the first question, it's a very important question, is will being the reference or thought leader make a difference for you? Or put the other way around. What if you were the thought leader? What if you were perceived as the reference in your sector and are being perceived by others, not just as an expert, but as one who has the big picture, as one who is perceived as somebody who can bring in other expertises that are around your area of interest and activity. To what extent would it make a difference if you are invited at the table by the political decision makers in the process and invited to the conferences or congresses? That is a key question to ask, because this makes sense. If this makes a difference to you, it needs to be worth your while. Okay, these were my checklists. The question I want to leave you with, and that is a choice that everybody has to make here in Brussels. Am I happy to be an expert, or is it time that we are ambitioning to become a thought leader? Thank you.
Right, Gregor promised food for thought. I think we got plenty of that. So do you have more questions? Okay, the gentleman started and then it's your turn.
Thank you both for both the presentations that were fantastic. My question is an open one, which is, do you have any views on that those who want to be influenced will only hear, read, watch what they want to hear, see or read, versus those who are actually making a difference and changing attitudes? And do you have any thoughts on how you get those who are otherwise against your views to come around to your way of thinking?
You both give it a shot. You can never force anybody to change his or her mind. However, it is a big difference if you disagree with somebody's solution or approach, or if you disagree with somebody's big picture. And the real strength of a thought leader is he becomes a lot less attackable. Is that a word?
It works.
It works? Okay. In a sense that, you know, if you have one position or one approach or one solution, somebody can easily disagree with it. If you have the big picture and you rally the opinion and in a way endorsement of a whole series of other experts who are not directly in your field but who are around your field, it becomes a lot harder to discard that as just an opinion. But you can only ever offer it. That's also what was one of the points. You know, as an expert, you try to convince. As a thought leader, you try to attract. But there's no fail or fool safe solution for that, I'm afraid.
If we think about the climate discussions, that might be a nice topic, then one of the things might be, if you are speaking about the Earth, it's big. If you speak about the backyard, it becomes different. Arizona, one of the areas where really people didn't believe in climate change, now they were really confronted with some of the effects. They start to notice it. Even the Republicans there are actually now in favor of taking measures. If you speak more in terms of how you present the message, if it's a personal story, it becomes different. But also if you add some kind of weird contradiction in a story, it becomes intriguing. People become curious. They want to learn more about it. And curiosity is one of the nice elements if you present a story to actually let people discover that maybe in some small parts that they're not right. Oxfam Nova, 50 facts about what's not good in the world, 50 acts. And you can even present them, they hardly do it, in some kind of a way that you are curious about, and I want to discover the next step, the next act. And in that sense you can bring some very nice elements up in a message. But there are many more ways, probably.
We have the gentleman at the back first, and then you.
Okay. My question is about the fake news is dominant in the news media, and is it the same way in the marketing, content marketing, that some companies are creating fake content, try to attract the audience, and this is one question. And other question is about there are some local companies which don't adopt the digital content marketing strategy. Their business is good going already, and they ignore to do the digital marketing. And are they losing the business by ignoring the digital marketing?
To start with your first question, is it that commercial companies really focus on paid distribution, paid media? Actually what you notice is that what they spend on paid media is really decreasing. You even have some companies...
It was fake.
Oh, fake!
It was fake.
Oh, fake media, sorry! Fake media!
Fake news.
Fake news. Okay, fake content. Yeah, that's a hard one. You probably have seen the illustrations of artificial intelligence, how easy it is. You sitting there and speaking, and actually on the screen you see Obama saying those words. But yeah, what is fake news and what's not fake news? It has been a challenge, I think, for ages already. Let's be honest, if there is no transparency, we don't know what's true and what's not true either. So maybe Gregor has another answer on that question. And the second one is, if you really only focus on offline, depends of course where you are, but most companies actually are facing the problems. If you take a look at many of the retail outlets that are actually going bankrupt at the moment, many.
Yeah, as far as fake news goes, no, I really have no information on that. But as to the second question, I have a very good example of one of the excellent butchers in Belgium. Great following, long lines outside of his shop, and never wanted to even have a website. And a year ago, they finally took the leap, and now they are distributing all over Belgium. Will they have gone bust if they didn't do that? I don't think so. They would have still served their local community. However, this way they have greatly enlarged their market. But it's not given for everybody either, because they have new challenges also. Because they do their own deliveries. It's meat, it's fresh. So then the cost becomes, you know, do you drive from Durbuy all the way to Ghent to deliver a good steak, and what's the price of that? So some will actually go back and say, you know what, we tried it, but it's not for us, and we serve our local community. So there really is no one fits all. But if you have a thriving local business and you're not online, there's good chances you don't need to be online. Word of mouth is still much stronger than any online campaign.
Until today, I've always thought that a thought leader would be someone who develops original concepts and communicates about them, communicates effectively about them. From you, Gregor, today, I hear that you can also be a thought leader collecting thoughts from others, original thoughts, and redistributing them. Is that correct, that impression that I got?
Yes and no. You could, and there's probably people who have proved that, and also in the whole fake news, you could position yourself as a thought leader without having any clue about what you're writing about by connecting to a whole series of experts. And that is actually what artificial intelligence is doing today. There, you can start seeing posts which sound very impressive and they make no sense whatsoever. Yeah. Don't forget what I was saying, the starting point is an expert. So it is a person who has an expertise. It is a person who is knowledgeable. The difference is that as an expert you can communicate and you can try to convince as much as you like, but you are an expert. What will make you a thought leader is the others. What you say will very rarely make you a thought leader. It's what others say about or around you that will position you as a thought leader. Does that make sense?
More or less.
I'd like to add a comment to that. If you think about LinkedIn, for instance, you have your LinkedIn profile. How often does any of us post our own contribution to LinkedIn, something that we have written? It happens, but most of the time when we post something on LinkedIn, it is something that we have found interesting somewhere else.
How often do you read what is being reposted on LinkedIn? I don't.
I do. If I follow people on LinkedIn and I know that, first of all, they're experts, they're good at what they do, and they repost something, I think, oh, that person has taken the time to read that article, has found it interesting, and has posted it on his or her LinkedIn profile. Therefore, I'll be interested because I know that person, I trust that person. I think if that person has posted that particular article, it must mean that it is interesting, so I will read it. So, you know, that's how also some people actually generate a sort of, look, you know, I'm happy to share that content with you because I thought it was interesting. And as you know that originally you like these people, you trust these people, you are their clients in some cases, and you think they're experts, you think, yeah, you know, reading the contents that they have reposted is interesting in itself. So, you know, it's just drawing a parallel, but I think, you know, I think that...
Yeah, so that is very much linking to what Ed was saying, is becoming a media, becoming an information outlet by sharing interesting information, what others have communicated. That is an important step towards becoming a thought leader. But really, the next step is just as important, is not just publishing it, but putting it in context to your audience. That is where the real added value is. And so you're very right, Florence. Often people republish and it is interesting and one reads it because one knows the person who is republishing it. But sometimes you come across something where somebody writes a post about something that he's connecting and he is repositioning it or he is making it into your context And that is what I really read. That is why I really say, oh wow, he really thought about that one. And that person then really sticks out. Yes, Niels?
Yeah, I've got a question. We can think about corporate companies, and thank you for the interesting studies about that. But in this bubble here in Brussels, you can also translate that to the trade associations that do their work here. And I wonder what would be the difference if you do your analysis about corporates that have to sell stuff or services, whereas here the trade associations are supposed to be the experts for their sector or their branch, and they have to make that same leap from expertise towards thought leader.
Actually, if you're a trade association, I think you can apply it almost like a commercial organization, because what your members want is you have a vision on the sector or on the industry you represent, you do some lobbying, you make sure that the playing field is like they want. They want to be informed as one of the first what's coming up, what can be realized, and actually that is almost being a publisher. You really have a key audience that's interested in what you're doing, so every member is really following you. So you already have a captive audience almost. So I would think a commercial organization would be happy if they would have that starting point. And also you have to tell something, and most of those commercial brands doesn't have a message and they have to look for one. So actually you have a good starting point, I would say, and probably you're doing a lot already.
I would add to that, Niels. Actually, the trade associations, they have a double challenge. A commercial organization here in Brussels has to sell his point of view one way to the political institutions. A trade association needs to sell both ways. It needs to constantly sell and prove to its members that they're still worth investing in. So it's not just selling the message of the members to the institutions. It is making sure that you position yourself ideally as a thought leader, because that will keep your members also coming back and engaging, instead of saying end of the year, do we still want to pay that? Or how about we just go to the Chamber of Commerce or another association? So associations are actually in a doubly stressed situation and have the highest importance or pressure to become a thought leader, in my opinion.
Just to add one element, is what is very interesting then, if you can make it a two-way direction, and if you have some formats or communities or conferences or online sessions where you actually collect what their ideas are and their input and bring it together again, and then you get the real loyalty and engagement.
Then you're a real thought leader. Everybody comes to you because you are the one who manages that.
But I think there's a third dimension to associations, which is that they are also experts. They have to convince audience, and they are thought leaders. They have to attract people. And so our biggest challenge today is to create communities and do community management. It is also about the communication with the target audience. Inside, we have to convince, we have to attract. It's a very complex situation. So.
Exactly, and that is where it becomes important to not just focus on what you do, but focus on the audience around you, on the needs of the audience that you're focusing on, and make it relevant to them.
That is the complexity of it, because we have different audiences for different topics, and that makes it, we have to create and multiply our messages, multiply our audiences, multiply the channels, which is a real challenge.
That's why you need a tool that allows you to do that efficiently. And you're very right, yes. Okay, I will just take over for 1 second from Florence, because Florence had warned me that at 12:20 she has to leave. So if you can maybe just thank Florence for her moderator. Thank you, Florence. Yes, please.
So mine probably builds on the community aspect, which is, so I'm not really person. I've been here for years, but I didn't start from there. And as a Brit, I would also say that one of the challenges is that there's a very technical conversation that goes on in Brussels,